In the history of the NFL, we've seen players fight through pain, illness, and heartbreak to put on a performance that could only be called gutsy. These players put everything on the line for the game they loved, and they'll always be remembered for the most courageous plays in NFL history, from broken bones to punctured lungs and everything in between. In this video, we'll talk about the gutsiest performances in NFL history. First off, Jack Youngblood with a broken leg. Jack Youngblood, known as the John Wayne of football, did something in the 1979 playoffs that is hard to believe. Youngblood came back onto the field after breaking the fibula in his left leg and played the rest of the playoffs and the Super Bowl with a broken leg. He didn't just stand still either. He admitted that he needed to figure out how well he would do as a captain of a defense. He was happy to learn that he could still make a difference even though he was hurt. During this vital stretch of games, he was a crucial part of the Los Angeles Rams defense. He played in 3 playoff games with a broken leg. He didn't stop there though. To the surprise of his NFC teammates, he also played in the Pro Bowl the next week. His team lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl, but the way Youngblood played with a broken leg will always be remembered as the bravest game in NFL history. Up next, Emmitt Smith's dislocated shoulder. Emmitt Smith's the NFL's all-time leader in rushing yards, and he had some fantastic games during his career, but they are better than the last of the 1993 season.
Smith up the middle, breaks a tackle, comes right, punches it in, touchdown Cowboy!
Smith got hit against the New York Giants during the game and had to leave the field because his shoulder was separated. He quickly returned to the field and finished the game with only one good arm. Smith's right arm was limply hanging. Eichmann lowered the spot where he passed the ball to the running back so that the running back wouldn't have to raise his arm. Every time Smith went to the sidelines, it was clear that he was in pain.
First quarter, Smith separated his shoulder.
But he kept running and telling his teammates he wouldn't give up. If the player coming back played a different position, it might not have been as brave. But Smith was a running back, and the Dallas Cowboys ran the ball hard with him. He was hit repeatedly, but he still ran with the ball. By the end of the game, he had 168 yards rushing and 10 receptions. It's hard not to give Emmitt Smith the bravest performance in NFL history.
Pitch left to Smith, blocked from Johnston, touchdown Emmitt Smith! Aikman draw to Smith.
Followed by Brett Favre's death in the family. Brett Favre ran around like a child during a Monday Night Football game against the Oakland Raiders a day after his father died. That is a picture that will stay in our minds forever. But when he got on that football field, he played the best game of his life. He threw 4 touchdowns in the first half and had 399 yards by the end of the game. Favre's teammates hugged him throughout the game, and in the fourth quarter, his wife gave him an emotional hug. He finished the night 22 of 30 for 399 yards. The Packers' record improved to 9-6, which improved their chances of making the playoffs. But that wasn't the most important thing. His quarterback rating was a crazy 154.9, which was almost perfect. The fact that Favre couldn't hide his feelings in front of a national audience made this performance even more moving. Moving on to Kellen Winslow's resilience. This game was played by one of the best quarterbacks of all time, so it should be remembered. In the AFC playoffs of 1981, the San Diego Chargers and the Miami Dolphins played a game now known as the Epic in Miami. This game was great because it was a hard-fought battle, and one player had one of the best individual games in NFL history. Kellen Winslow caught 13 passes, which added 166 yards and a touchdown.
West Chandler could go the distance. Wesley Chandler's inside the 10. He's in the end zone.
Even though those numbers don't make Winslow's performance stand out, the fact that he was sick made it one of a kind. Winslow had a pinched nerve in his shoulder, was dehydrated, had terrible cramps, and had to get 3 stitches in his lower lip during this game. After the game, he was so tired that his teammates had to carry him off the field. Winslow's game, in which he handled everything thrown at him, is easily one of the bravest in NFL history.
Moments after San Diego won in overtime, Winslow clinched his place.
Next, Philip Rivers with a torn ACL. If the ligaments that help you walk are torn to pieces, it must be hard and painful to do something as simple as walk. Now try to picture playing football with a torn ACL. Philip Rivers knows how that feels because he did the same thing in the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots in 2007. Even though he tore it in the last game, he'd still play in the biggest game of his life. Even though the Chargers lost the game 21-12, Rivers' limping made him one of the toughest players in the league. Since then, he's shown it in every game. Rivers lost the game to the Patriots, but his brave play will go down in history as one of the best. Not to mention Ronnie Lott with an amputated pinky. We all know that the story about how Ronnie Lott cut off his finger, but we still can't believe it every time we hear it. Just imagine cutting off the tip of your finger to return to your job. It's almost impossible to believe. Ronnie Lott broke his pinky finger when he tried to make a tackle on running back Timmy Newsome. Just before the playoffs, he had to make a big decision that would affect the rest of his life. But it's true, and it shows how brave Lott was as a player in the NFL. Let's learn more about Terrell Davis with migraines. Terrell Davis's performance in Super Bowl 32 was terrific for several reasons. First, Davis had terrible migraines, which can be very hard to deal with. Because of these headaches, he had to miss the whole second quarter of the game. Davis was fearless to come back, but what he did once he was back on the field was even more impressive. He ran for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns, while being named Super Bowl MVP. Few players would have been able to stand with migraines, let alone run for more than 150 yards in the most crucial game of their careers. Kudos to you, Mr. Davis.
Inside the 10, head first, he dives inside the 5-yard line. Yeah, great.
Coming up, Donovan McNabb hobbles with a broken ankle. Donovan McNabb would have been much higher on this list if the game in which he broke his ankle had been more critical. In Week 11 of the 2002 season, McNabb was tackled to the ground and got up holding his ankle. At first, people thought it was just a simple sprain. After the game, an X-ray showed it was a broken ankle. It was broken in 3 places to be exact. When McNabb got back on the field, he had one of the best games of his career. He threw for more than 250 yards, scored 4 touchdowns, and made 80% of his passes.
That is amazing. That is Donovan McNabb.
Next, Tony Romo with broken ribs. When almost the whole country was making fun of Tony Romo earlier this year, he did something so brave that it's still hard to believe. The San Francisco 49ers' Ahmed Brooks hit Romo hard in the first quarter, but he stayed in the game until the end of the first half. During halftime, they discovered that one of his ribs was broken. Romo didn't play for most of the third quarter, but he returned in the fourth quarter and helped his team win overtime. Later, it was clear that Romo hadn't only broken a rib and poked a lung hole. After this brave game, he could shut down his critics for at least one game.
What a throw! And a touchdown!
Up next is David Carr getting sacked 76 times. It must be the worst feeling in the world to be the quarterback and know that you're gonna get sacked almost every time you drop back to throw a pass. During the whole 2002 season, David Carr felt the same way. He was sacked 76 times that season, which is probably a record that will never be broken. On average, he was sacked about 5 times per game. To show how crazy that is, in the first 3 games of this season, 7 quarterbacks have been sacked less than 5 times. Even though Carr never had a significant injury, he still had a terrible season that no other quarterback will ever have to go through again. His brave play lasted for 16 games, so he deserves to be on this list. Finally, Matthew Stafford with a dislocated shoulder. As the first player picked in the 2009 NFL Draft, Matthew Stafford had a lot to live up to. Stafford showed what kind of player he is in a game in late November of his rookie year. Stafford came back onto the field even though he had hurt his shoulder on the play before. No, even the team doctors couldn't talk him out of it. He threw his 5th touchdown pass on that play.
Stafford off the back foot to the end zone,
which turned out to be the game-winning one. Yes, it was only one play, and yes, it was stupid, but it was also brave and precisely what the Detroit Lions franchise needed. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. Which of these players is the bravest? Do you think they should have stopped playing when they were injured? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.